She laughed, loud, cruel. The clinking glasses around them went silent. A young black waiter on one knee holding a modest ring, rejected in front of everyone. The rich girl smirked, whispering to her friends. Did he really think someone like me would marry? Him! He stood frozen, humiliated, his dreams crushed under the weight of her arrogance. But what she didn't know was that the same man she mocked would return. And in just a few minutes, you'll see how power can shift forever. Have you ever been dismissed by someone who had no idea who you really were? Tell us in the comments. Before we begin, hit subscribe. It's appreciated. It was a quiet evening in a city where dreams often felt too far to reach. Daniel worked long shifts at an upscale restaurant, moving from table to table with a practiced smile. He wasn't just serving plates, he was serving survival. Every tip mattered. Every shift meant rent, and every night ended with the hope that maybe tomorrow would bring something better. Daniel wasn't born into privilege. He grew up in a small neighborhood where opportunity was scarce but ambition burned bright. His mother worked 2 jobs, his father gone too soon, leaving him with lessons about resilience and dignity. From the outside, he looked like just another young man in a pressed uniform, carrying trays for people who barely noticed his existence. But inside, he carried big dreams, dreams that stretched beyond the walls of that restaurant. Still, nights were long and unforgiving. He watched wealthy couples dine in luxury, laughing, sipping champagne, living lives he could only imagine. Sometimes their careless laughter stung. Not because Daniel was envious, but because he knew he was just as capable, yet invisible in their world. It was on one of those glittering nights, under the soft glow of chandeliers and the sound of violins, that his path collided with hers. Isabella, the daughter of one of the city's richest families. She walked in with a presence that demanded attention, silk gown, diamond earrings, a smile that told the room she belonged to another world entirely. To her, Daniel was just another face in the background, someone to pour wine and clear plates. But to him, she was a spark of possibility, proof that maybe life could hold more than endless work and hidden struggle. He didn't know then that the night would carve itself into his memory forever, nor did she. Because what started as just another evening would soon reveal a cruel truth and ignite a fire that could never be put out. If you were in Daniel's place, watching the world look down on you while you carried bigger dreams in your heart, what would you do? The night grew colder outside, but inside the restaurant, the air shimmered with wealth. Crystal glasses sparkled. Laughter filled the room. Daniel moved from table to table, steadying his hands as he served the city's elite. For them, he was invisible, just a waiter, another shadow moving between chandeliers. But in his chest, his heart pounded louder than the music. For months, Daniel had saved every extra dollar. Every tip, every coin tucked into his pocket wasn't just for bills, it was for a ring. Not a diamond that dazzled like the ones Isabella wore, but a simple one, bought with sacrifice. He believed love didn't need a price tag. He believed that if his heart was true, it would be enough. But when the moment came, when he knelt before her, eyes full of hope, the room turned cruel. Isabella's laughter cut deeper than any blade. Her friends gasped, some even giggled, their eyes glittering with amusement. She leaned back in her chair, smirking as though the very idea of his love was an insult. "Did you really think someone like me would marry you?" The words were soft, but the silence in the room carried them like thunder. Daniel felt the weight of every stare, every whisper. His cheeks burned, his hands trembled. In that moment, he wasn't just a man rejected, he was made small, humiliated, defined only by the uniform on his back and the color of his skin. He left the restaurant that night with nothing but shattered pride and a burning fire in his soul. Shame turned into determination. He promised himself he would never be laughed at again. He worked harder than ever, juggling multiple jobs, studying late into the night. Every rejection became fuel. Every insult, another brick in the empire he was determined to build. Opportunities didn't come easy. Investors dismissed him. Banks refused his loans. Some told him straight to his face that people like him didn't belong in boardrooms. Yet Daniel refused to quit. He started small, fixing computers in a cramped apartment. selling refurbished machines on street corners. Then came a storefront, then two, then an entire chain. Each success stacked higher, pushing him closer to a world where no one could mock him again. Years passed. The boy who once carried trays now carried boardroom keys. His name began to echo in business circles. A tech genius, a visionary, a man who turned scraps into fortune. But still, the memory of that night never faded. The laughter, the stares, the humiliation, and fate, cruel and poetic, was about to bring him face to face with the woman who once crushed him. Would Daniel finally find his justice? Or would the past still haunt him? The ballroom glittered with gold and glass, a charity gala filled with the city's most powerful names. Cameras flashed, waiters weaved between tables, and in the center, a man stepped out of a sleek black car, Daniel. No longer in a uniform, but in a tailored suit worth more than most would make in months. His arrival drew whispers. Reporters called his name, billionaire, innovator, the man who had changed an industry. Inside, Isabella stood among her circle of friends, still radiant but worn by years of chasing status. Her laughter was softer now, her confidence thinner. When her eyes caught him, the color drained from her face. She remembered. That night, that ring, that laughter. Daniel walked past her at first, acknowledging others, shaking hands, owning the room in a way she never thought possible. But the universe was cruelly precise. Their paths crossed near the stage, where he was to be honored as the night's guest of honor. The crowd's applause filled the air as his name echoed from the speakers. And there she was, frozen. No diamonds, no smirk, no cruel words this time, only silence. Her friends whispered in disbelief, some remembering the story she once bragged about, mocking the waiter who thought he could marry her. Now, that same man stood higher than any of them could ever reach. The moment hung heavy. Daniel turned, his eyes meeting hers. For a breath, the room disappeared, and it was just them, the broken boy who had once been humiliated, and the woman who thought his worth ended with his paycheck. The crowd waited for his words as he stepped up to the microphone. He could have exposed her. He could have reminded them all of what she did. Instead, he simply smiled, lifted his award, and said, "Never underestimate the person serving your table. You don't know what they're building when you're not watching." The audience erupted. Isabella's hands shook. Her past cruelty was now her shame. What do you think Daniel should have done in that moment? Call her out, or let success speak louder than revenge? Tell us below. The applause faded, but the message lingered long after the gala lights dimmed. Daniel left that stage not just as a billionaire, but as a man who had turned pain into power. He didn't need to humiliate Isabella. Life had already done that for him. Her mocking laughter had become her silence, and his silence had become his greatest victory. For Daniel, the journey wasn't only about money. It was about proving that dignity, hard work, and unshakable belief could outlast arrogance and prejudice. He carried with him the memory of every insult, every door slammed in his face, every time the world told him he wasn't enough. Those moments had built him far more than wealth ever could. And Isabella? She faded into the crowd that once adored her, a reminder of how fleeting status can be when it's built on belittling others. Daniel had become more than she could ever imagine. Not just successful, but respected, admired, and unshakably strong. This story is bigger than one man's victory. It's a reminder to never judge someone by where they start, because you might be staring at the future they're quietly building. Racism, arrogance, and cruelty may wound, but they can also ignite a fire no one can extinguish. So the question is, how many more Daniels are out there right now, dismissed? Underestimated yet preparing to change the world? Show some love with a like and subscribe to stay inspired.